DXL back with another NFXL podcast in the build up to the 2026 NFL draft. In this piece, I'm going to have a look at the defensive lineman, and this is your early April update with less than 3 weeks to go till draft day starts now. So let's have a look at the defensive tackles, and firstly, the teams that might be looking to take defensive tackles early. Amongst them, I have Atlanta, Carolina, Minnesota, New England, and the New York Giants. I see those teams as being front of the queue for interior D linemen in this draft and be the ones looking at the top five in this class. After them, Baltimore, Houston, Las Vegas, and Pittsburgh are the other teams who could look to take a defensive tackle earlier rather than later in this draft. So for me, up to 10 could go on the opening 2 days, with another 4 starting spots possibly available to this class. Outside the top 15, the rest of this class may have to settle for being late round depth additions. So how does this draft class look in terms of overall big ball positions and in terms of positional rankings right now? Well, my first DT is Peter Woods of Clemson at 31 on my big board. Caden McDonald of Ohio State is at 34. Caleb Banks of Florida is at 35. Now, he's probably the best defensive tackle in the class, but persistent foot injuries, and he's picked up another one, believe it or not, at the combine. So, he's struggling to overcome that injury bug. After him, Lee Hunter of Texas Tech is at 37. Kristen Miller of Georgia at 48. Then a bit of a gap to Grayson Halton of Oklahoma at 81. Darrell Jackson Jr. of Florida State at 87. Demonic Orange of Iowa at 92. Rayshawn Benny of Michigan at 94. Then another smaller gap to Chris McClellan of Missouri at 111. DeMonte Capehart of Clemson at 114. Dante Corleone of Cincinnati at 126, obviously called the Godfather. Tim Keenan of Alabama at 130. Zane Durant of Penn State at 133. Xavier Harris of Ole Miss at 138. Then a big gap to Caleb Proctor of Southeast Louisiana at 180. Albert Regis of Texas A&M at 203. Landon Robinson out of the Navy Academy at 207. Skylar Gill Howard of Texas Tech at 209. Bryson Eason of Tennessee at 210. Nick Barrett of South Carolina 221. And Cameron Ball is the 22nd and final one in my top 250. He's out of Arkansas and ranks 233 on my big board right now. So they're the defensive tackles. Let's move on to edge now, the exterior of the D-line. So this is probably the strongest class in this draft, and I grouped together defensive ends and outside linebackers in under the banner hedge for the purpose of this. With 6 first-round level candidates and 10 more in contention for day 2 picks. As I say, this looks an exceptionally strong class, but demand is high as well. I can list teams like Buffalo, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Dallas, Denver, Detroit, Green Bay, Houston, Jacksonville, Kansas City, the LA Chargers, Miami, New Orleans, Philadelphia, Seattle, Tampa Bay, and Tennessee, which would make it at least 17 teams who would look to take an edge guy on the opening 2 days of this draft, meaning top-end demand matches the quality at the top end of this class, and expect to see plenty of edge guys go in this draft, and particularly early. 11 other spots are open to candidates in round 4 or 5, which could mean the rest of this class get taken earlier than they would in years where demand was not as high as it appears to be this year. So here are my, how many have I got? 32 edge candidates in draftable positions right now, and I'll rattle them off for you. David Bailey of Texas Tech is at 3 on my big board. Ruben Bain of Miami is at 8. Aki Messidor of Miami is at 17. Keldrick Falk of Auburn at 21. Texas A&M's Cassius Howell at 25. TJ Parker of Clemson at 29 rounds out the 6 first rounders potentially into round 2 potential guys. Zion Young of Missouri at 40. R. Mason Thomas of Oklahoma at 43. Gabe Yakas of Illinois at 56. Derek Moore of Michigan at 58. Malachi Lawrence of Central Florida at 60. And Romello Height of Texas Tech at 64. Makes it another 6 in round 2 and a dozen in the opening 2 rounds. Into round 3, 4 more here. Danny Dennis Sutton of Penn State at 66, Joshua Joseph of Tennessee at 85, Kieron Crawford of Auburn at 98, and LT Overton of Alabama at 99. So there's 16 there that saying from big ball positions, and the demand appears to be there, could all go in the first 2 days of this draft. Below them, into round four, Anthony Lucas of USC at 120, Nadame Tucker of Western Kentucky at 122, Tyreek Sapp of Florida at 135, and Caden Curry of Ohio State at 140 make it four more that I currently have going in round four. Into round five potential, Caleb Elams-Orr of TCU at 148, Max Llewellyn of Iowa at 158, Quintavious Hutchins of Boston College at 161, Ethan Burke of Texas at 172, Mason Rieger of Wisconsin at 173, Logan Farno of Utah at 176, and Trey Moore of Texas at 181. So that's 27 potentially going to go in the first 5 rounds. The final few I've got here, Mikael Kamara of Indiana's 184 on my big board, Vincent Anthony out of Duke is at 205, George Gums of Florida at 230, LSU's Patrick Payton at 246, and Keon Sloan of NC State at 255, making it 32 that I could all see getting drafted as edge candidates in this draft. An exceptional class, and demand appears to be high as well. So expect, like I say, the interior D line is going to be fairly busy, but the outside there's going to be teams taking them flying off the board like you can't imagine, is how I see it this year. So that's the D line done. Next, I'll be back with the inside linebackers and safeties. See you in a minute.